yo.
Yo, yo.
What's going on?
How you living?
I'm living beautifully.
We can tell.
I'm happy to be here. You know, it was touch and go for a second, but they got me here. I'm happy to be with y'all. If they didn't figure it out, I was gonna be like, well, I'm just gonna come back on GP and just touch the people.
All right, all right, all right. I'm so thrilled that you are here.
Me too.
We are so grateful to have you. I don't want to miss or waste a moment.
I got you. I know. This 25 minutes is like,
yo, it's going to go like this. So let's do it. So we are here at Out and Equal, and something core to all of us being in this space, it's about being out at work. Now you are out as a Black queer woman in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey? Specifically, what are some of the risks and what's gained when you move through the world with that kind of authenticity?
You know, it's interesting because I have to own that I'm of a certain generation. So the generations before me and the generation before that really could not be themselves. And a lot of amazing artists Black artists particularly, that we know that were queer, went to their grave pretending not to be. So for me, it was not actually a journey. It just was. I was never going to pretend to be something I wasn't. I was never gonna do something that didn't feel comfortable. And in doing that, I sort of became iconic in a weird way. Real
That's
shit.
Right. No,
they celebrate me. It's almost like for celebrating my right-handedness.
Mm-hmm. This just felt like what you had to do, how you had to move through the world.
No, I mean, I just really don't have the energy to be anything other than myself.
You heard that.
But it's also interesting. So because of that, you know, I oftentimes can be fetishized. Oftentimes, you know, people are like, oh, isn't this amazing? Oh, look at you, you know, this Black queer woman in her natural habitat. It's almost like I'm getting credit, you know, to me. I really am like, I'm dope on the page. You know, when I'm in a film or a TV show, I eat, you know, I come and I'm gonna be memorable before you leave. You know what I'm saying? It's like, to me, the work I'm doing just as an artist is to me the focal point. But I also realize it is not lost on me the milestones, the Vanity Fair cover, the Emmy, the Met Gala. That stuff is not lost on me. And I think, to me, what I try to do in those spaces, because I'm honored to be in those rooms, is to always make sure I'm repping for the home team.
Yes, 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 thank you. Yes, please clap it up.
Oh, sure.
I'm glad you mentioned some of the milestones, because you were obviously no stranger to making a statement. Mm-hmm. And let's talk specifically about the Met Gala. I mentioned this year's Met Gala, and you showed up with a statement, again, that was desperately missing from that event.
Yeah.
Tell us about Black drag queens invented camp and why you felt like it was important to send that message at that event.
It's important. I mean, I think for a long time, our culture continues to be stolen and commodified. I feel like, you know, it's interesting. I think white people make more money off Black culture than Black people. And straight people make more money off of gay culture than gay people. So to me, I just always try to bring it back to where things began. Like, you know, the documentary Paris is Burning, like, raised me, and you know, I studied it and watched it, and the crazy thing is like, the Kardashians are saying words that they made up. You know, they talk about shade, they talk about reading, they talk about, you know, like just sort of catchphrases and how to do a thing and gagging and all that kind of stuff. Like, all these words like that people that are a part of the lexicon were created by like broke Black drag queens, and, you know, like making it, you know, pop, figuring out they shit, you know. And interestingly enough, them wanting to be a part of the broader society, or wanting to be in, is so interesting. You know, when you look at, you know, I believe it was Octavia saying, I want to be a household name. It's like, but the truth is, like, but what you're doing, she didn't even know then that what she was doing would infiltrate the society at large. So it's almost like she's trying to belong to something, but what people are trying to take what she actually has to offer. So to me, it's a little unbalanced a little bit. But like, yeah, like, I'm gonna, when I show up to those functions, I'm going to show up as myself.
That's right.
You know, and I think in Kirby, who does Pierre Moss, who was amazing, who's a queer ally, you know, I told him, I was like, I'm going to do it. Like, I got to have a message. And to me, camp is all about the RuPauls, the Dorians, the cast that like really invented it. And I always want to give light to the ancestors and those that really came before me.
That's exactly right. And to your point, queer culture has always, and specifically camp, has always been about subverting the mainstream.
Yeah.
And you were right to put that spotlight on and put it back to the folks that invented that. So thank you for that.
Real shit.
Let me talk about the year before, because you wore that 8-stripe flag on the carpet. It's a particular significance to me because in June 2017, we launched that in the city of Philadelphia in solidarity with communities of color. Woo, yeah, Philly, yeah, Philly.
And we had the brown and black stripe as well. Well, for sure.
It was beautiful. And I think we have the creator of that 8-stripe flag, Terry Gerbeck. Is Terry here? Terry, the creator of the 8-stripe flag?
Oh, what up, what up?
Thank you, Terry, thank you.
What it do? Yeah, much thanks to Carolina Herrera and that whole team, you know, when I said that's what I wanted to do. And I also said, I was like, you have to add the brown and black stripe as well. And they went back in the lab and got it done. And, you know, to me, it's always just a matter of speaking with confidence and putting that bass in my voice and being like, this is how I want to walk up, you know, this is how I want to do it, especially since it was my first one. Yeah, and that's the other thing. It's like sometimes there's this level of, you know, having to be, look, I show gratitude and I'm honored, but if I'm going to show up, I know what I bring to those steps as well. Right. You know, if you invite me, it's because people are looking, people want to see me there. So if you want to see me there, you're going to see me as myself. But also, I'm going to bring my whole community when I show up everywhere I go. Real shit.
Real shit, real shit. Mm-hmm. We keep circling around this idea of authenticity and showing up as who you are. I want to talk about the Thanksgiving episode. Y'all clap before, clap it up again for the Thanksgiving episode.
Yeah.
When I watch that episode, I'm in awe of how you bring this experience to the screen. This idea of being able to hold space for conversations around navigating relationships, around gender presentation, around coming out to one's friends and families. So many of us have these experiences, and you were able to pin this and be able to have us all have a common experience that just resonates so deeply. Tell us about the process of writing this episode, and I want to know specifically what was challenging about it, and what did you find cathartic?
Well, it's interesting. I think about a couple of things. One, I have to own the privilege that I had to have been on a show with Aziz Ansari, who recognized something in me and was like, you need to have your own episode next season. He was like, he's like, we're gonna figure out what it is. But also Netflix really left me alone as well. Like that is a no filter, no notes, nothing. What y'all got was like pure. And that's why the fact that it was so well received and the fact that we got the Emmy love was even more icing on the cake, because it was like, oh, this was just like my shit, untouched, unfiltered. But I had that support from them. I wrote it in 3 days with Aziz. I was filming Ready Player One in London, and I told Aziz, I was like, I got 3 days off, come through, let's get it done. He came out to London. We got in the hotel room. He would leave the room when I was writing certain scenes, like the coming out scene, like I think the very last scene. And he just really gave me space, you know? And I think sometimes we need that space. We need those queer allies to be like, yo, tell your story, do your thing.
You got this.
And we really did. Like, it was not difficult. That's the thing. And again, I always say that with my writing, I'm a vessel. It is a spirit moving through me. It is not just me. It is my 10,000 hours that I've clocked, you know, to this craft and what I'm trying to do. But really, I leave room to let God come in and really like work through me. So that way I'm being honest, I'm being real, and I'm not pulling back. And the biggest thing for me with that episode was to make sure I didn't come off like the hero and my mother didn't come off like the villain, because that is an easy thing to do. And the truth is, it was really a story about two women trying to better understand one another. And I even learned so much about my mother in writing that episode. And that because a lot of people think with the whole thing, like, oh, there's a religious aspect of it. And for me, that was not the case. I always say my mom didn't care what God thought, she cared what the neighbors thought. And that is a very unique thing, particularly with middle-class Black people specifically, in that she was born into a segregated America. She was born in 1953. Her birth certificate say colored. So she was taught to be a good Negro. I was not. So to her, what it means to be good is to be well behaved, is to not ruffle feathers, is to make white people feel comfortable. And so I, being born in 1984, being born into the South Side of Chicago, watching
Chicago in the house,
watching television, you know, whether it be A Different World, whether it be Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I would see Black people disrupting things and disrupting the narrative. And so for me, I was always like, oh, I want to be a part of that world. And then I came into own who I was. And then I became a disruptor. I became a quote unquote bad Negro. And the interesting thing is, like, I instead of making white people uncomfortable, I think I sort of intrigued them, and I think they also want to mimic. They're sort of like, oh, what is this magic? What is this interesting thing you have? And so my mission is to make sure that I don't be commodified, that I not be tokenized, and that people celebrate my whole self and not just what I have to offer that they can take. That makes sense?
It makes all kinds. You dropping
enough has been taken. Enough has been taken. So I'm here to, you know, get the reparations on my ancestors' behalf, I guess you would say.
Yes. I love this idea of you showing up and living your truth wherever you are. It reminds me of last summer when you appeared on the red carpet right after cutting your locks. Yeah. And so you appeared on the carpet and you did what felt like a very spontaneous interview.
It was, yeah. With Mark Mayo, yeah.
That's exactly right. And you delivered this moving explanation for this change. And you said, I felt like I was holding on to a piece of femininity that would make the world comfortable with who I am. I thought for a long time, oh, if I cut my hair, I'll be a stud. In the gay world, there's a lot of categories. I'll be a stud or a butch, and I've always thought, well, no, I'm not that. I'm still soft. I got to put that down because that's something that's outside of me. So how does it feel? Is it different moving through the world without locks?
Look, man, I enjoy both journeys, you know, and it's interesting because I appreciate that time that I had with my hair. And the thing is, like, that's how people met me. You know, I was Denise with the locks. Like, I won my first Emmy with the locks. I was on cover of Vanity Fair with those locks. I still have those locks at the crib because it's energy.
Those are nice locks. You better sell those locks.
But to me, I also, too, if anybody knows, you know, with locks, it is a journey. You know, it is a journey that you're on. It's a personal journey. That's why, to me, there was nothing more vicious than to see, like, that whoever that white woman was cutting off that young Black man's locks without his permission. Nothing is more vicious than that. We cut off our locks when we choose to, or we choose to go to our grave with them. That is how it is. Our hair is, you know, a part of our crown, and it shouldn't be touched by anyone other than us. So that's one. But when I decided to cut my locks off, it was because I had come to a space in my career. I think I had done so much I was in the fucking Steven Spielberg movie with them locks, you know what I'm saying? So to me, I was like, okay, now I'm ready for the next chapter. So when I drop Queen and Slim, it'll be with no hair. You know, when I come out with this new season of The Chi, it will be with no hair. When I am in season 3 of Westworld, it will be with hair, very little hair, and it'll be blonde. But, you know, to me, it was almost like, okay, I'm moving into this new chapter. And I even got married with no hair. Like, so it's like, there's so many things so many new milestones that I have with this sort of like free space. And yeah, it's just a different chapter. It's a different move. And it's an evolution of the woman you see before you today.
Yes. I want to hold on to that last thing you said about the evolution, because I think that so many of us in this room and folks everywhere really struggle with showing our true selves, right? And living really authentically because we're afraid of how the world is going to respond to us. Like back to that piece of, you were holding on to some piece of your femininity, how the world may interact with us. And you were demonstrating there is so much that can be gained when
Absolutely.
you are moving through with that authenticity, when you are showing up as who you are truly for the world. So I appreciate you showing us what it can look like when we don't hide, when we just uncover.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So you just mentioned Queen Slim. Tell us about this project. Tell us more about what we can expect when this comes out.
I mean, I think Queen and Slim changes everything. And I mean that in even the most humblest of ways, in that this changes the narrative. It is purely from the ancestors. They came and sat with me as I wrote it. And it's interesting because I kind of want to say it's not for the faint of heart, but and I think there's a level you could kind of argue that, yes, I wrote this film with not thinking about the white gaze. Mm-hmm. So it is a movie speaking directly to a Black audience in a way that I don't think a Black audience has ever been spoken to. Mm-hmm. And because of that, I think all audiences should show up to it, particularly white audiences, because if you want to know what it means to be Black, you should come and sit in that movie theater, because you should know what it means to be Black.
That's right.
So when you interact with the Black person, you actually have a better understanding of who they are and where they're coming from.
That's right.
And we don't deny what the narrative is. We've made that very clear, that this is a routine traffic stop that does not end with the Black body dropping. So therefore, in itself, it is already changing a narrative, and it is demanding that you come and sit and watch a story that is not told by the hunter, but by the lion.
That's right.
And so I think it is extremely important that the lion sometimes tell the story, because when the hunter tells it, we will always be conquered.
Always.
And in this film, we are the conquering lion. And I think it's important that those narratives be in the world, because I always say, I would not let James Baldwin die for nothing. Mm-hmm. I will not let his death be in vain. I will not let Nina Simone's death be in vain. They passed the responsibility on to me to be an artist, to be a Black artist, which means I must reflect the times in which we live. And Black people are being hunted by police. I don't give a shit. They are killing us at an alarming rate. And so therefore, as an artist, when I sit down, I say, what happens when I swap the motherfucking narrative?
Exactly right.
When a Black person kills a cop in order to save his own life.
Right.
And then has to go on the run, and they become icons, and all the things that come along with that. Because that's the interesting thing about the movie. It is not black and white at all. It is very complicated, and it is very layered, but the thing that it will always be at the center and at the root of it is a meditation on Blackness. And that, to me, must be in the world. And I'm honored that I got to put it in the world with Melina Matsoukas, with Daniel Kaluuya, with Jodie Turner-Smith, the fact that Universal was treating it like a motherfucking 10-pole movie. So I like to say this, we're coming Thanksgiving, whether you like it or not.
Okay.
I suggest you show up.
Well,
I suggest you show up. And we've done 3 screenings, and we made a conscious decision to show it in Black spaces. The first place we showed the finished film to was at Howard University. The second place was at BAM in Brooklyn. And the third place was at a place called the Underground Museum, appropriately called that in Los Angeles. And judging by the way those people reacted to the film and the feedback we've been getting, I'm now hyper aware of the season I'm about to walk into. And so I'm just staying prayed up and talking to the ancestors to make sure we're ready for the revolution that's probably about to come.
Damn. Thank you for disrupting the narrative and giving us stories that we have never seen told before. You are living a truth and you are in a class all your own. But I imagine that at times that can be a pretty lonely experience. You talked at the very beginning of this conversation about folks, our ancestors and our elders, the queer people before us, not being able to move this way. I imagine the other side of how beautiful and exciting all these accomplishments are is that it can also be lonely. What advice do you have for folks who are trying to find their path when they're building, they're creating, and they may be the first and the only that's doing this work?
Well, look, somebody has to break through the wall. You know, sometimes you got to get bloody, you got to get bruised, and I'm happy to take those hits for sure. But I'll be honest, I do not feel alone in the fight. Donald Glover is a brother. We communicate a lot. We talk a lot. We have very deep conversations about the work that we're doing and the things that we want to put out. Janelle Monáe is also a sister in the fight. She and I are texting and communicating and some stuff we're trying to work on. My boy Justin Simeon, who we made Dear White People all those years ago, we still in the fight together. Issa Rae, who I was with last night, there is an artist community that is so flourishing and so beautiful, and the Black Renaissance is not dead.
Yeah.
It's not dead. It lives on inside of us, and we've taken the baton, we're carrying the torch, and to me, I really want to go further and further as far as I can take it. And after a close friend of mine saw Queen and Slim, she was a little wrecked after it, but she said, you know, when you make art like this, they will come for you. Mm. And I looked her dead in the eye and said, let them come.
Bring it.
Let them come. That's what you're supposed to be. Either you're a warrior or you're not. Either you're a warrior or you're not. Either you about it or you're not. You know, and it's so interesting. I always think about this moment in this movie. It's a really white movie, but it's a movie called Troy with Brad Pitt. You know that shit?
That's a white.
The beginning of the movie, this little boy is sent to his hut to tell him to come fight this beast, this warrior. And Troy's like, why won't you fight him? And he said, because I'm too scared. And he said, and that's why no one will remember your name. And that, to me, I saw that as a young person, and I looked at it, and I said, yes, that's it. I must never be scared. I must always go into the lion's den and fight to the death, because they will remember my name.
We have time for just about one more question, but I want to ask you about this because I mentioned in my remarks before you came out, my mother focused a lot on mentoring when I was coming up and the importance of sponsorship. And I don't think there's many folks in Hollywood who embody this idea in the way that you do. Whether it's your social media, whether it's even the designers you collaborate with, the creative folks that you collaborate with, you are using every platform you have to bring folks along with you. Talk to us about the importance of mentorship and sponsorship and using whatever space and privilege we have to bring folks up that wall.
Yeah, I think the way I approach mentorship is very hands-on, and that I think people think it means hanging out with me or me giving them a job. That's not what it is. Right. Mentorship is me looking a person dead in the eye and saying, what is the dream? What do you ultimately want to do? And half the time they can't find an answer, or they're stumbling or saying a couple different things, or they're saying too many things. And I'm saying, okay, tell me what the short-term goal is. What do you want to do? And then once they tell me something specific, then I can make moves. Then I can say, okay, let me place you here. Okay, well, actually, then you should be over here. You actually shouldn't even be working in my department. Let me introduce you to the costume designer if you want to be in costume design. This is my stylist. Come sit with her. I'll get you an intern for the summer. You circle back with me after a month and let me know how you're doing. That, to me, is what true mentorship is. It's actually about figuring out what that other person is trying to do, and then me helping to figure out what steps they need to take in order to get there. Because the truth is, mentorship and putting people into the industry will actually be my legacy. I don't care about lining my walls with trophies. To me, if I can have people get on stage and receive trophies themselves and can say to me, like, Lena was at the beginning of this journey, that I hope is my legacy, because I want to change the business from the inside out. And the way I do that is not just by putting people in a room. I want to give you the tools you need in order to stay there. Because if you just get in a room, it's a waste of your time and that person's time. I want to train you up so that way you are excellent, you are amazing, and you are so phenomenal that your art cannot be denied. So that's really my goal. Because when people talk to me, they say, what advice do you have? I always say, be phenomenal. Be phenomenal. Because, and that also goes into another thing. It's like, you know, we particularly as people of color, as queer people, as when you're different, when you're othered, you have to be excellent all the time just to be equal. So, and even in talking to Daniel Kaluuya, we were talking about Black excellence. And he was like, my dad told me that that is a product of Black trauma. That's really what it is. You know, Barack Obama had to be perfect to be Barack Obama. And we have another president that does not look like Barack Obama that doesn't have to do anything. It is a direct example of what America is. If you want to be Black and be president, you must be perfect.
Absolutely. And even
if you want to be white and male, you can do whatever. Again, what narratives are we telling our people? If a cop can kill a Black person in their home and go free, what are we telling our people?
That's right.
What's more American than that? So we really have to look at ourselves in the mirror and stop acting as if everything's gonna be okay. And look, we can't, I always love what Aziz says, he's like, we can't solve the world's problems over brunch. But what we can do is acknowledge the problems and stop looking elsewhere for someone to fix the problem.
Thank you so much, Lena, for the blessing of spending this morning, this afternoon with us.
Thank y'all for having me. This is a beautiful experience.
Thank you for sharing this inspiration. I am going to close us out here, but I want to close us out with some words that you gave us when you were the first Black woman to win an Emmy for outstanding writing. In your groundbreaking acceptance speech, you spoke directly to the LGBTQ community. And you said, the things that make us different are our superpowers. Every day when you walk out the door, you put on a cape and you conquer the world, because the world would not be as beautiful as it is without us in it. Thank you for that reminder of our superpower and our superhero capacity. And thank you for reminding us that we all have the opportunity to be sponsors and signal boosters and mentors and supporters of each other and our community. You all, Lena Waithe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So beautiful. I'm so grateful for you. No, I'm so grateful for you. Thank you.